Hello, John Bloodworth Gentleman Crafter here with more fun with foundation paper piecing. This time around we're not only doing a 4-patch, but we're doing it in sections. This is going to help us form the third in the series of stars that we're making. The templates have the fabric colours and the amount that you need to cut, and the templates are supplied on one sheet. So you'll have 2 pairs of triangles, an A and a B, for each 3-inch block, and we need to make 4 3-inch blocks. So we'll start with an A, and I've cut my pattern pieces, and the numbering on the pattern templates is directional, so you'll know which piece goes where. So part 1 will always go right side facing up, and part 2 will go right side facing down, as will all subsequent pieces. Once you have that in place, pin it, and then we're going to stitch on the line that separates part A1 from part A2. That's if you can get your pin in. I was having a bit of a struggle. Apologies for sniffing, it is still hay fever season. I've got it early and I've got it bad. Any old wives' tales you want to share, please feel free to leave them in the comments below the video. Stitching along the dashed line that separates those parts and trying to make sure that it's on rather than either side, and of course tack stitching or reverse stitching at the end or end and beginning of that line. Trimming threads as we work to stay neat. And then we'll push back part 2 to cover section 2, and then use the iron to press that seam in place. Now I'm going to use a piece of card and my add a quarter ruler just to double check that I've got a nice straight edge running along there to line up my next piece with. Not too much going on there, but it was worth a trim. So part 3, and if we turn the pattern the right way, we can make sure that we've got the piece the right way. So we line that up, and we've got 2 reference points here, the point of the corner and the point at the other end. Always look out for these reference points, as they're great for helping you get things in place. Stitching down the line that separates sections A2 and A3. Again, taking our time to make sure that things are spot on. And then when you fold that part back, it should cover part A3 and also meet with the edge of the pattern. If it goes into the seam allowance, don't worry, that's fine, we can sort that out later. Pressing it flat with the iron, and then just doing again another quick double check that we've got a nice straight 1/4 inch edge against which to place our final piece. Very little going on here, in fact just a couple of threads by the looks of it. So we will grab part 4. Now there's not so many easy reference points here, but the point that you can see by my right hand actually sits within the seam allowance about halfway across. So look out for that. Final bit of stitching for this section. And that stitching goes on the line that separates A2 and A3 from A4. After we take the pins out, when we fold this piece back, it should cover the rest of the pattern. And we can press that in place with the iron. Next up, I'm going to trim this section back to the solid edge around the entire perimeter, just using a regular quilting ruler and rotary blade. And while I do that, please let me ask you to make sure to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and of course subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified of any future videos. If you do want to be notified, make sure not only to hit the subscribe button but also hit the bell icon as well, and that will notify you either on the app on your smart device or in your browser if you've got that function enabled. Okay, so there's the first of our sections, that's the A section. We will then repeat this for the B section. I'm not going to show you that because it's pretty much exactly the same. But when we have that, what we're going to do is join those two sections together to make the block. So we'll position one on top of the other. I've chosen to put the B on top of the A. Not really sure it's going to make a huge difference. Just making sure that everything is lining up, pinning it in place, and then I'm going to stitch along the dashed line on the left hand edge. And as always, reverse stitching or tack stitching at the start and the end. Be aware that you are going to come across some bulky areas. Just take your time and make sure that these don't scupper you by sending you off on a different path. Slow the machine down if you need to, but just let your machine do what it does. No difference here, just trimming threads, staying neat and tidy as we work. And then I'm going to open this pairing out and use my finger presser to press open that seam, making sure that all the bits that should be on the left are on the left, and also the same for the right hand. And we will definitely be pressing these in place with the iron to make sure they're nice, firm and crisp. Neat and crisp and even. Okay, so that's one of the 4 blocks that we will need to make. I've gone ahead and done the other 3, so I'll bring those on now. And as we've done for our other stars so far, we're going to join them in pairs. Top first, then bottom, and then we'll join the top to the bottom. So take the left-hand piece, place it on top of the right, making sure that that diagonal seam is on point and that the corners of the paper patterns are on point as well. These will make sure, or these steps will make sure that everything comes out all right. Again, just be aware that you will have some bulk, especially when you hit those end seams. One tip is you can get a pin and hold it flat as it feeds under the presser foot. Just make sure you don't send the pin through with it, because you might find you snap your needle. After joining the top two parts together, again we're going to open it out and spread that seam and press it flat. Okay, there's the top section done. So we'll now repeat that with the bottom section. And while I do that, I'd like to remind you that I have a Facebook group dedicated to this particular series of videos, the Fun with Foundation Paper Piecing videos. So if you are making these, following along, and you would like to share what you're making, whether it's a single block or whether it's a full-on project that you've made using a number of blocks, then please feel free to come along, join up and share. It's been great seeing what everyone's made so far. There's lots of different colour choices and variations. I think everyone's liking it so far. You'll find a link in the description below the video on YouTube, and of course a link in the blog post on my website gentlemancrafter.com, where you can also download this pattern set. Okay, as we did with the top section, we're going to open that out, tease open the seam allowance, and then press it in place with the iron. Make sure you don't catch any bits like I did. Again, press it from the other side. And then we're going to place the top on the bottom and stitch them together. When it comes to this stage, you basically want to make sure that center seam is lined up and that the top and bottom corners of the paper pattern are lined up. That's going to help you make sure that the center point of the star is on point. The benefit of working in sections like this means that we can limit the amount of trimming and folding back and working in that way, plus we can form patterns that we wouldn't necessarily always get with this particular technique. Now when you come to bulky seams like this, use a pin or something very pointy to help feed those through flat so that they don't ruche up and add extra bulk. Slow down or speed up, whatever you need to do in order to make sure that happens. Okay, we're on the final pressing here, but we will still do what we did before. We'll open the pairing out and press the seams flat. And you can see we are going to have a lot of bulk in that center because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seams joining. So we've got double layers of fabric plus the paper itself. So an extra firm press of the iron might be handy here. Once we get rid of the paper, a lot of that bulk will go and a lot of the firmness will go, and you will end up with a flexible fabric. And there we go. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.